The Pope and Young Club wants to welcome you as we rally together to ensure our bow hunting opportunities for today and tomorrow. You've come to the podcast that believes in preserving, protecting, and promoting the passion for bow hunting. Join us as we strive to be the voice of today's bow hunter. This is the Pope and Young Podcast.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Pope and Young Podcast. Jason Roundsville here, joined as always with my co-host Dylan Ray. And we have with us special guest, regular member, and archer extraordinaire. We have Tom Nelson with us. Tom, welcome.
Thank you. Always fun to be here.
Hey, we like having you. It's, it's one of those things. We get to talk to all kinds of people. And for me, it's always nice when you meet somebody who, I don't know, maybe doesn't necessarily have to be nice to you, but they're nice anyway. And they're how you really, you see somebody on TV and you're like, wow, he sure seems like a really nice guy. And then in real life, you're a really nice guy. And that's for those of us out there, it's a real privilege when that happens.
Well, yeah. I appreciate those kind words. Thank you.
Yeah, it's and we're pretty blessed because most of the folks that we have on are pretty good. A lot of them have been doing it long enough that I think there's a progression where people get to where they start out and, everybody's busy, but they're just trying to get that next, trying to get things going. And then I think there's a point in a lot of the careers where people realize, hey, you know what? Hunting and the outdoor industry has been pretty good to me. I think it's time to give back. And you can see that come through in how people deal with other folks. And I mean, there's the other side of that is, how long have you been running the TV show now?
23 years. This
23 years.
Yeah.
That's the other thing is if you're doing it that long, you're doing something right.
Jason, I remember telling my wife, Beth, who's a regular member of the Pope and Young Club, that when they first approached me and originally I told them, no, I don't think that I would like a camera crew following me around, on my hunts. It's such as we all know, bow hunting, it's kind of a solitary sport and it's, something you like to do alone. But we were in the process of buying a farm at the time and I was looking at how I was going to swing it financially. And I thought, I'll juggle a couple jobs at the same time. But to make a long story short, I told Beth, I said, wouldn't this be so cool if it lasted, like 5 years I got to do this? And here we are. Looking back now and going like, where has the time gone? And it's and looking at the longevity of the show, I had no idea. I feel truly blessed and had a lot of great sponsors and support from bow hunters, across the nation. Otherwise, I definitely wouldn't be here. So, been very blessed.
What point did that turn full time for you? Like, was it full time right off the bat, or did you do it for 5 years? And
no, not even. So the show started in 1997. And at the time, I was sales manager at Anderson Archery, at the time, the world's largest archery center in the U.S. In Grand Ledge, Michigan. And this farm came up for sale that I hunted and for years. And I'm like, I got to get my hands on it. And so after I had originally said no to the offer of doing the TV show, they came back about 6 months later and said, hey, we really think you're the guy. We really want you to do this and such. And I was doing a lot of out-of-state do-it-yourself hunts at the time. And so I talked to my wife and I said, if I could juggle both of these, we could make the payments on the farm and feel financially like we could pull this off. Well, after that first year, it became the show grew in leaps and bounds. And this is in the infancy of outdoor television, so everything was new and fresh and nobody really knew what they were doing, it seemed like. And somebody like me who was nobody could come and actually, be the host of a TV show. Nowadays, it's way different. But regardless, we persevered and struggled for those first few years, which was quite a learning experience. And by 2000, I was so involved in the TV end of it as far as sponsors and keeping everybody happy and traveling. And at that time, we were producing 26 episodes a year. So you're looking at 26 hunts a year that I personally was doing myself. So I said,
That
I
just
just can't.
sounds terrible.
Yeah, lots of stories. I could do a seminar at the convention on this, but so I got to the point where in 2000, just prior to 2000, I said, I can't do this anymore. I mean, I got to do one or the other. And the TV show was going wild. I said, I'm going to roll the dice and just stick with the TV end of it. And I did. And again, been blessed. And here I am today. It's been a great ride. I wouldn't change anything.
So if you had to pick one show or one episode, what did one of them do, the guest or the hunt or the animal? What would be the one that you'd be like, you know what, that was probably just my all-time favorite?
Catch me off guard like this, so I'm not going to be able to reel through all of these shows. But the one that stands out, one that really I think about when I'm laying in my sleeping bag in hunting camp. Sometimes I go back to Montana, 2010, maybe right in that circa. And we've been elk hunting. It'd been a tough hunt, a little too warm and such. And I'd hunted this area for years, so I knew it pretty good. And I told my cameraman, we're going to make a hike this afternoon. So we're going to go up. I know this wallow that's historically always been pretty good, but it's a pretty good hike. So we're going to leave here early and hike on up there and get up there this afternoon. And as we were hoofing it in, and it's a big drainage and it's rough country. And as we were hiking in there, I heard a bull bugle. And I said, motion with my finger to my cameraman and said, there's a bull bugling up there. And we kept going, made it a couple hundred more yards and stuff. And I heard him again closer. And I said, that wallow's not but a half mile up here. I said, he's going to that wallow. I said, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, he shouldn't be bugling, let alone moving. So we took off on the run as best you can in that country, so
Yeah.
So we go a few hundred yards and I said, he bugled again. He's even closer. I said, we got to get there. And I said, drop your pack. And so as we're running, I just dropped my pack with all my gear in it. I just have my bow and we're going, I'm pulling ahead of him a little bit. He's carrying the heavy all the camera gear and stuff. You get up there and there's an old tree stand there. And I'm like, we're never going to make it. And as we get in there, here comes some cows and I can see them coming across this open part, coming into this water seat that was all dug out in a wallow. And I go, we're not going to make it. And the cows are going in there and we get down our hands and knees and we're calling in. And I said, that bull, he's still bugling behind him, bringing him up, he's 100 yards behind him. And I said, we're going to crawl in there. So we're crawling through the sage and stuff and the little junipers on our belly. And I'm pushing the bow ahead of me and the cows are splashing, and as they come in, elk coming into a wallow or whatever, they're all, they're all talking and excited. And I can hear them splashing and we get in there. And I'm just about within bow range. I'm probably 40 yards on my belly. And they've been in there now several minutes ahead of me. And out the lead cow gets, and then another cow and a calf. And they start meandering off. And I'm like, oh no. I'm just finally getting to that spot. And I crawl a little closer and I hear the bull. And now he's close. And out he comes. And I'm probably at this point 35 yards. And I go, I got to get up to that stump because I'm almost in the wide open now. And I got this blimp of a cameraman behind me, bringing all the gear. I'm like, this is never going to work. And I make it to that stump, old stump, the tree stump that's there. And it actually wasn't anything to been cut off. It's just a jagged one from a fire hit by lightning years past. And I get behind it. And here he comes. And the cows now are pushed off probably 50 yards from me. And he splashes right in there and starts raking his antlers. And I still remember it like it was yesterday. He has no clue I'm even in the zip code. Wind's perfect. And I don't even think about the cameraman. I'm in autopilot at this point. And I'm like, he gets it, but I'm telling you, I mean, it ended up being he's in the Pope and Young record, 329, ended up scoring or 330-39, regardless. But he's right there, broadside, 32 yards it ended up being. And I drew back and shot him and he's whoosh, and he jumped out of that wallow and he ran about 30 yards and I just cow called as loud as I could with my voice. And he and he stopped and he looked back and he wasn't sure what happened. He stood there and my cameraman's capturing it all, and then he just does the wobble move and down he goes. And this is like 1:30 in the afternoon, most guys aren't even out hunting that time of day. And I've got a Pope and Young bull laying there. So that one always is special to me because of, we got aggressive and made it happen, and I wish there was a whole crew of us there to celebrate, but hugging my cameraman. But there you go. I probably made a long story out of this, but that's
good.
Sticks out.
That's the double-edged sword. That's the double-edged sword of having somebody film you at all times, though. Is there's no like, yeah, dude, he came. I mean, you get to show people this is how it happened. I'm not just making a story up, but at the same time, you can't embellish anything and say, dude, we saw it stinking. Yeah, where's it out on video then?
Yeah, you're right, Dylan. You're right. But as I said, for all the good trips like that too, there's times where the cameraman moved or stepped on a branch, or the whitetail saw him move his camera in the tree stand. So, and I always have to tell myself, okay, you probably wouldn't even be on this hunt if it wasn't for the TV show, because you want to strangle your cameraman at times, like, why did you move just then, but we use guys, I use cameramen that are bow hunters. So the majority, they know, within reason when to go, and their job is to capture it all, and I always tell them, I said, I'm not even going to ask you, I hear on TV shows, the hunter goes,
are you on
him? Are you on him? I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about the camera. I tell them, if I'm drawing back, I'm going to shoot something, you haven't got to just knock me out of the tree stand or something. But I said, I'm not going to ask you. Your job is to get it. And my job is to concentrate on this shot, and make things happen, not to worry about you. So that's what I tend to do. Just, again, like I said, go into autopilot. And now after all these years, I don't even think about a cameraman being with me. Usually I just out there hunting, and it doesn't affect me. So,
yeah. So what's one? That's a good one. What's one that you would have liked to have skipped, or you just love to have back? Is there a hunt where you're just like, you know what, that was just for whatever reason, weather, just mud bath, whatever it was.
It's like when you're doing a TV show and you allocate, say, as an example, 7 days. I'm going to roll into Iowa. I got 7 days, and I want to kill a Pope and Young whitetail. That's a tall order anywhere, even in Iowa. And so when you're rolling in there, and then you end up, okay, it rains for the first 3 days, or you're weathered in. I'm thinking of right now of hunting mountain caribou in British Columbia, and we were on a 10-day hunt and spent probably 6 or 7 days. I could look it up in my journal and tell you exactly, but in a small tent. There was 4 of us in a 2-man tent, basically. And my hunting buddy, myself, the cameraman, and the guide. And we were trapped in this tent. It rained and it rained. And I'm not talking a spring. I'm talking rain, poured and poured. And the elevation we were at, the clouds came in. You couldn't see. I mean, even to go out and have to take a leak, you didn't want to leave the tent very far because you get lost. You couldn't even see your way back. But that was miserable. I'm the only one that had a book. I had a Western novel that I had thrown in my pack, and we were all like laying side by side. You had to get up and step over the guy next to you to go outside. And I was tearing off a page as I read it, and I'd hand it to the next guy. He'd hand it to the next guy. True story. And that was our only source of entertainment after a couple of days, because we ran out of stories to tell and things. But that was just miserable. But that's a hunt that you'd like to do again, or not have even went. It's still a great experience. Yeah. Hunting's always great, but that's a miserable hunt that I think of. But a hunt that I'd like to have back was a mule deer hunt with member Jim Van Norman in Wyoming, where we spotted this extra large muley buck bet, and we watched him, and he bedded down, and we made a battle plan, and he stayed back and was watching through the spotting scope, and my cameraman and I made the stalk, and we got right in there tight. I could see his antlers just right above the rock where he was bedded, this rock formation, and it was perfect because it was like walking on concrete sidewalks. It was all big hard rocks, so there was no sticks to break, and we're sneaking in there, and I wanted to get just within bow range, hopefully 20 yards, and he was bedded. I was just going to wait till the sun moved and he stood up, and I'd have a non-alert mule deer at 20 yards broadside, hopefully. So I had to clear this overhanging juniper that was hanging, and I snuck underneath it, and I made it, and I got down, and I knocked an arrow, and my cameraman's coming behind me, and I get my arrow snapped on, and I just look over my shoulder at him, and I can see him. He's making it. He didn't take off his pack. He had his backpack on, and I could see this twig catch his backpack and start bending as he's coming. And I wanted to go, no. And just, I'm looking at him, my eyes, and it goes, and it's just a twig smaller than my finger, and it snaps. And he knew what he did. And I look back at the same time, and all I see is that muley buck explode out of that bed and go downhill.
Boil out of
And
that.
I'm like,
yeah.
oh my gosh. And he felt so bad because he's a really great guy. I've hunted with him a lot, my cameraman there and stuff. And he just went, and I went, but that I'd like to have a do-over, because that was a true, and I'm going to say he was at least a 190, if not a 200-inch muley buck, and we were within 20 yards. Oh, it was just the best setup ever. But yeah, I'd like to have a do-over on that for sure.
That's for sure.
What's the maddest? Have you?
At least you got in on one.
I was here in Dillon too. What was the question?
What's the closest you've ever gotten to just absolutely strangling a cameraman?
I don't know if I should actually tell that, but
oh, you absolutely should. Yeah.
Yeah, we need to hear that story.
Okay, probably. Yeah, this would probably be it. I was with my veteran cameraman, who I've been with a lot, had a last-minute family emergency and was unable to go on a big trip with me. We were hunting over in Namibia, and we were going to be gone for 23 days. And so we had a last-minute replacement and had to call around. I mean, how do you get a guy that is going to take off and leave and within a week's notice and go overseas with you and such, you know? But we did. We found a guy. He went with me. Met him for the first time at the airport in Atlanta, getting ready to fly over. And he was right away, you know, I'm like, this guy's a little weird, very limited outdoor experience, but he had worked for the Fox, the network, as far as doing sports, hockey, baseball games, football. So he was an accomplished videographer, I guess. At least he told me that several times. But we were over there, and it was probably halfway through the hunt, and you know, everything was like when we were getting a blind, like, oh, I can't film out of this. How am I going to film out of this and stuff, and or video out of this, and complained a lot. And I was every day getting a little more, you know, a bit more and more on my nerves. And we had this beautiful kudu come in one day, big bull, all by himself. Came in water, splashed around, and he videos the whole thing. And it gets out of there. And I at that point in my career, I'd already been to Africa like 5 times. So I'd shot a couple other kudu. And this was a nice bull. He was 55, 56-inch bull, but just not what I was looking for. And he walks away. And my cameraman flops back in his chair there in the blind, and he goes, what am I doing? You know, why am I even here? He said, why didn't you shoot that? That's huge. And I go, because, well, I wasn't going to shoot it. Well, how am I going to know when you're going to shoot? I said, you won't. You'll know when that arrow flies. But I said, that's my business end of it. You're here just to video me. And it was a little more heated than that. But basically, we had a little essay. The adage goes, we had to come to Jesus meeting. But I'm a nice guy. You know that, Jason, Dillon.
Absolutely. I'm sitting here I'm like, how would a come to Jesus meeting be with Tom? Because I just don't see it. I was
actually sending him home at that point. I was so mad. And we had a pretty good talk that day. And then he did better the rest of the trip because he wouldn't even hardly talk to me. And that's how I liked it. It was perfect.
And that's fine. Yeah.
He did just what he was supposed to in that blind. He didn't talk, didn't complain. But when we got back to the States, when we actually, when we landed in Amsterdam to catch our flight back to the States, he decided he was going to spend another day there. I think he wanted to get rid of me, and I would have paid his hotel fee that night just to have him get out of there. But yeah, that was the closest, probably the most upset I've been. And I've had some other small go-ons, but usually they were pitio and such. And that's the key. That's why I look to see if the guy's a good bow hunter first, not a hunter, a good bow hunter first, before I look at his credentials as far as a videographer. And Ryan, my current cameraman, who's been with me for years now, I mean, he's an avid bow hunter, and he's like another set of eyes and ears, coming, get, over there or whatever. And oftentimes when we're elk hunting and such, he'll spot one or hear a bugle before I will. And so that's the sort of cameraman you want. He's really, really good. Plus he's lean and mean and can outrun me. So that's good.
Yeah. So I'd be the kind of cameraman that can sit in a blind in Africa. That'd be all right.
Yes.
But running up some of these mountainsides, I'm not sure that's for me.
And you have to have a cameraman that you can get along with, because I mean, you're living with them, eating your meals with them, sleeping in the same room and traveling with them. And, you can get, some of my best friends, being on hunting trips with them, I'm ready to get home, and a little separation just because. So, but when you go all fall or all spring with these guys, you need to have a guy you can travel with and get along with well. So.
Yeah. And it's really difficult, when you talk about traveling hunting partners, I don't know how many guys I've taken on trips and about 2 days in, you're like, yeah, wow, this is a week-long trip. That's too bad.
Jason, you're right. You really never know a guy till you hunt with them, till you take one of your buddies. I've had several guys that I've been with that, they're still friends, but I just don't invite them anymore. But my circle of friends, the guys I hunt with religiously, are almost exclusively Pope and Young members. And some of them I've met at convention and we hit it off, and I said, I'm doing this or that, or, man, I'd like to come tag along. And to this day, I can whip off guys like Bob Delaney, Drew McCartney, members of the club that, hunt with me on a regular basis. And that I met through the Pope and Young Club, that now we've become, really good hunting buddies. And that's one of the beauties of being a member and stuff with the club, is the networking, the friends you make, and they're lifelong friends. I mean, they're going to, when I die, they're going to carry my casket. I mean, those sort of guys.
Yeah. Bob, that's not the first time Bob's name has come up. I think Dr. Strickland mentioned him as being a really quality. Yeah.
Great guy to have in camp, never complains, always happy. He's like, Tom Hoffman's another one. Tom is always upbeat. I don't care if it's raining and it's the last day and it's miserable. He's always upbeat. M.R. James, I've hunted with from past president of the Pope and Young Club. I've been blessed to hunt with him numerous times. And again, just a great guy in camp and stuff. Not just a great bow hunter, but a great guy in camp. And that's truly what it's all about, is that getting together as a group and such. So,
yeah. Have you ever been on a hunt with?
When you're talking about staying positive, sometimes it's hard because you're, especially if you're, the responsible party, so to speak, for getting people on quality hunts. And all of a sudden in the back of your mind, you're always fighting those battles. Okay, is this the right spot? Is that, should we be, over here, or should we be over on the east side? And as you're fighting those battles in your own mind, sometimes it's tricky. And then to maintain the wherewithal to stay positive in front of the guys that you've got in camp is there's a little bit more thought that needs to go into that for some of us than for some guys are probably just real nice guys. For some of the rest of us, we have to like make that a conscious decision to where, hey, this person's only here for a few days. We need to maintain the positivity and then hope things come in line.
You get one guy in camp, and if he snaps and brings on that, the whole camp down with his negativity and such, it ruins the whole camp because it's infectious. And I've seen it again and again in camp where, if that one guy's like that, others pick it up, and then the whole camp's down in the dumps and such. And, And I'm a big believer in, keeping that PMA, that positive mental attitude every single day. You let yourself get down, everybody comes down. And if I'll use the group leader, or put the hunt together, I stay positive, and like, today's going to be the day, boys and stuff. And hey, you could be back at work. Yeah, we've all heard that, but you have to stay positive and can't bring the group down. It's a big part of it.
Yeah, and there's another thing I've seen, because you see that both ways. You see people that are positive, and then you see the negative try to creep in, and you try to squelch that if you can. And then, I've seen the other side of that, where there's been, I've had in hunting camp some guys that, there's one guy in particular that I'm thinking of. He's out of Texas, and I took him hunting as a friend, just as a favor to a friend. And this guy shows up, and he's used to being Mr. So-and-so everywhere he goes. Everybody, he's got a lot of money, and, at my hunting camp, really don't care. It's like, hey, guess what? It's Tuesday, Matt, you're on dishes. And so it was literally, here's this guy who hadn't washed a dish in a long time. And all of a sudden, you could just see on his face that for the first time in maybe a decade or more, he was just Matt. He was nothing special. It's like, dude, you're on dishes. Well, I don't want to do that. I don't care. I don't do dishes. So you're on, and it was just, you see that side where all of a sudden, wow, I'm here. I'm just one of the guys. And it's a really neat thing.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
Dylan, you were going to mention something a second ago.
You were just talking about positive people and, how to keep that positive attitude. Have you ever been on a hunt with Fred Eichler?
I haven't. I've known Fred for years, and visited with him at different events and such, but I haven't. But, I he's one guy that I definitely would want to share a camp with. He's always, like you said, an upbeat. He's happy with anything. Doesn't matter what's going on, but he's a class act.
Well, and that's the whole attitude. I was recently talking to him about, tough hunts and how you keep that mental attitude and how you stay in the game. And he said, the way I look at it, he said, if I've spent 6 days in the mountains and I haven't seen anything, on that 7th day, I now have a better chance of seeing something than I even had on the first day. Yeah. A lot of guys, it's the opposite. They're like, dude, what are the chances we see something today? We haven't seen anything for 6 days. Well, the longer you're there, the chances of seeing something goes up, not down. So, that's one way that he keeps his mental attitude there is the longer I spend here without seeing what I'm after increases my chances of seeing what I'm after, not the opposite.
I agree 100% with that.
It's hard when you're out there and you're not seeing them or hearing them or into them. It's not always easy to maintain that, to find that perspective. And it's
absolutely. I have a moniker at times at Last Day Tom. Without question, I've bagged more animals on the last day of the hunt than any other. And a lot of people, right away think, well, because it's the last day, you set your standards lower or something, but not the case at all. It just so happens that in Texas last year, passed up umpteen dozen bucks and just didn't see anything I wanted. And the last morning we were there, the buck that we had on trail camera showed up, and I arrowed him, and and it would have been easy at that point to been down in the dumps and such, but I would upbeat every day, a hunt a year ago in Saskatchewan, the last hour of the last day, killed a Pope and Young black bear that we again had on trail cam, sat there six days waiting on him, and he showed up the last hour of the last day. So, it's you gotta stay focused, gotta stay positive, and the last day, like I said, is as good as the first day.
Yeah, that's great. So that's what's we mentioned the cameraman aspect. What's the biggest mistake you've made on one of your hunts, on one of your TV hunts?
None. Oh yeah. One thing Mostly it's my mistakes have been just misjudging yardage and missing this or that. And it's funny, at a ATA show, Archery Trade Association show here, it's been several years ago now, maybe not several, maybe 5 or 6, but I was sitting at one of the sponsors booths and we were talking, and there was a couple other well-known archers and bow hunters in this little group that we were having a conversation of. And the one individual, well-known, but I'm not going to mention his name, save him a little bit, but he said, Tom, one thing I've noticed, he said, you show your misses on your TV show. Yep, I do. I said, that's, part of it. And he said, well, we're the viewing public looks at us as professionals, and being professionals, we are supposed to be good shots and not miss things. So he said, I would never show one of my misses on TV. And I go, well, any hunter that's worth his salt, that's been around the block once or twice, bow hunter that is, has missed something in their career and can appreciate it when I do too, and understand why. So I said, I'm always going to show my misses and let them know that I'm human too. But I still think about that all the time. That he was arrogant to the fact that I'm not going to show my misses because I am a so-called professional. We're nobody special. I mean, as a TV host and such, I'm no different than anybody, any guy out there. Matter of fact, there's countless bow hunters that are way more accomplished than I'll ever be, and most of us don't even know their names because they just do their thing and they don't want that pat on the shoulders and stuff. And to me, those are my bow hunting heroes, those guys. And I know several. There's a couple guys here in Michigan that are good friends of mine that are just die-hard, do-it-yourself bow hunters that get out there and get it done every year and such, and have animals listed in the Pope and Young record books, but they're not household names. Nobody's ever heard of them. It's just the way they like it, and they're like I said, they're my heroes out there.
It's interesting. I understand that mentality that we want to show the successes, but it's interesting what resonates with different viewers, because we did a video not too long ago, a PNY promo piece before the last convention, and they had filmed a bunch of 3D archery stuff for us, and just talking about Pope and Young and here's who we are and what we stand for as part of our rebranding. And of all of the things in that, I think it was a 3-minute video, and of all of the things that were neat, and there was some great footage of people shooting and hitting targets really good, but the two that resonated the most with me, that really caught my attention, one of them was somebody unscrewing an arrow from a tree. They hit a tree, went over the back or whatever, hit this tree, and they were unscrewing their arrow off of their tip because they weren't getting the tip out of that tree. And then another one was a miss. I think it was something bounced off a rock, and it's like, if you shoot enough, you're going to miss. Absolutely. Hunting or not. And so it was just interesting that for me, those two, maybe it's because I'm not the world's greatest archer, but it was just one of those things where those just resonated with me in that particular video.
Absolutely. And, and you see somebody miss and drop their head, and they're just like, oh my gosh, what did I do? And, it's painful, but it's part of bow hunting, and it happens, and things, and you're just like, how did I do it? What happened? And I I'm really good at missing. I really am. I missed a good share of game, but it's part, and I practice all the time, but it just happens. You misjudge your yardage or drop your bow arm, just hit a twig, on the way. It happens. So it's just part of it. If you can't handle missing something once in a while, then perhaps bow hunting isn't a sport you should be involved in.
Yeah, I think everybody's hit the twig. You're like, oh, send it. It looks good. It looks good. Yeah. There it goes. Not going to make it. Yeah. That's fun. What is your favorite thing if you could chase one? I know we asked this question, what's your favorite thing to chase? And a lot of people we hear elk a lot because people enjoy elk hunting, and then we hear whitetails. People enjoy being able to hunt for 3 months long in their backyard. But if you can hunt for 90 days in a row in your backyard, any animal, what would that be?
Wow. There's whitetail fanatics out there and elk hunting fanatics, people that, have one species they really target and don't care about the rest too much. And I've never been like that. Whether it's muskox or hunting black-tailed deer in California, I mean, I truly do love it all. But my top couple of, I love elk hunting and I love whitetails. Those probably are my two, but probably I'd have to go with whitetails only for the fact that I grew up hunting them since I was a youth, and we hunt them right here on our farm. And I'll get off a plane from one of the best bow hunting destinations in the States for whitetails, or drive back home from Kansas or Iowa on a Sunday night, and Monday morning you'll see me perched 15 feet up a tree right here on my own property hunting. The next day I get asked all the time, what do you do when you're not bow hunting? Well, I go bow hunting without a camera.
I go bow hunting. Yeah,
I do. And so I would say personally whitetails, but boy, that's a real toughie between elk and that. Because I love the elk hunt. I love to hear them bugle. I love the fact you get to chase them and interact with. That's a toughie, but probably just because of the longevity, whitetails would be my choice.
It's interesting you mentioned that you get back from a world-class hunt somewhere, and the next day you're still going hunting. And I think it was Dylan. Was it Jack Frost that we had on? Jack. Yeah. I mean, Jack's been there and done that. There's not a lot that you're going to do that he hasn't done. And he was talking, we're like, Jack, what big hunt do you have coming up that you're really excited about? He says, well, I'm going back to hunt the family farm. He says, I've got 4 doe. He says, I think there was like 4 doe tags. I've got 4 doe tags. So here's another world-class archer who is, just done. Yeah. He's hunted everywhere you can imagine. And he was excited about going home to do a doe hunt.
There's something about hunting on your own place and stuff, I guess. And, again, going back to the TV aspect of it, the show, when, you're rolling into a camp and they've done the scouting, they've done hung the stands and done a lot of the groundwork already for you. And, you roll in like that, and that aspect of the hunt has already been taken care of. And then, you're doing the shooting, whereas on my own place, I'm the guy that's, putting out the cameras and watching those deer all summer long and deciding where we're going to hang tree stands, where we're going to put food plots, and the self-satisfaction from being the guy that did all the work. I don't care if it's my wife, my daughter, my son-in-law, my nephews, whoever comes and hunts the farm, when they shoot a buck or a doe, I feel just as accomplished as they do, because heck, I was the one that hung that stand, and I was the one, that put in that food plot that you shot him over. And I'm the one that, because I'm like camp director when I have people here hunting, I'm like, I think we're going to go jump in the ATV. We're going to run you back and put you in, on the hillside or the split oak. We've got nicknames for all the stands and stuff.
Yeah.
And when somebody shoots, and my wife, Beth, who, as I said, you guys know her, she loves to hunt and to bow hunt. She shot a nice 8-point this year on the farm, but she always will say, well, that stand was my idea, or it was my idea to put that blind over here. And she does. She's my favorite hunting partner, and I'll put her up against any guy that I've hunted with as far as being tough. She's great on the track as far as blood trailing, and when we get up in the morning to go make a bow hunt, she's goes out the door and goes her way, and I go mine. And it's not like I walk her into a stand and get her up or anything. She just goes out there and gets it done. So it's but yeah, that's the beauty of hunting and the self-satisfaction you get from doing all the work. Because again, when you roll into a camp and they're doing all the work for you, it's just And I'm not complaining. It's nice if they've got a good setup for you when you arrive there, and especially whitetails, because they're such a tough customer when you're limited for time. But again, honey deer right here at home, that's my favorite.
Yeah, it's funny. I understand both avenues of that. I was in, this is years and years ago. I was actually up in Canada on a hunt, and I went into the bank just to exchange some money, and you walk in, and they can tell the accent from a mile away.
Yeah.
And so the gal at the bank, I was like, "Hey, how's it going?" And the gal was like, "Let me guess, you're here to exchange some money." And I'm like, "Well, yes, I am." She says, "You're probably up here hunting." I said, "Well, yes, I am." And I was a little younger and maybe a little cantankerous at the time. She says, "Well, who's your outfitter?" And I was like, "Outfitter?" I said, "My hunting is way too important to me to leave it up to an outfitter." and she's like, "Oh, okay. So you're just doing yourself." I'm like, "Yeah." And so anyway, and then now years later, I'm like, there's something okay with letting somebody else do some of the legwork. I'm not as opposed to that as I used to be. And especially when you talk to some of the outfitters, I mean, we get to be, well, you started the hunt program with Pope and Young. I mean, you basically developed the outfitter program for the organization. And as we work with some of these folks, it's just, you can't help but not want to go hunt with these guys. I mean, if you have a chance to talk to like Steve Perrins with Rainy Pass, and it's like, how would you not want to go hunt with this guy, and just different things. So it's
Very true.
I have definitely, the more I'm around them, have definitely changed my tune more and more, because there's just, they put a source of pride in there, and a level of professionalism. And that's the one thing we're trying to do when we're putting hunts together, as instilled in us by you, is to make sure that we're getting the right ones. We don't want every hunt, but we want the right ones for our folks, our members.
And for those
Jason, I
listeners,
actually,
go ahead, Dylan.
I tell people, on the opposite end, you say I care too much about my hunting to leave it up to an outfitter. I get asked that question often, like, "Dylan, I want an antelope hunt for the first time ever. What should I do?" I tell them, hire an outfitter. The reason being is you can spend a week with that outfitter and learn so much in that week that then next year you can go and do it on your own. But, then you hear from guys and they're like, "Dude, I've spent 10 years trying to elk hunt in Colorado." And I'm like, "Well, who are you learning from?" "Well, we're just trying to go out and figure it out on our own." And I'm like, "Dude, you've wasted now, not wasted, but you've spent, 30 grand trying to figure out elk hunting, where if you would have spent, a quality $8,000 for a good outfitter, you would have learned so much in that week that you could have then taken and applied to your own do-it-yourself hunts and made them a lot more successful." So I tell people all the time, outfitters are a fantastic way to just pick their brains all week long. Why are the elk doing this? Why are they going here? Why are they making that noise versus the noises you see them make on TV? Why are they, and you learn so much in that 1 week with an outfitter that
You're
you
right.
can then take and apply.
I agree with that 100%, Dylan. And we had a guy this year. I hunted with Mike Parsons from Crow Creek Outfitters.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
young,
huge.
He was on the
huge
podcast.
supporter.
great guy. I listened to that podcast with him. I heard he was going to be on it. I had to, it's worth the price of admission just to hang out with that guy for a week. But he's awesome. I've hunted with him for years. I've known Mike forever. But we had a guy in camp, and he had been on 5 elk hunts, if I remember correctly, 5 elk hunts. And he's after day 1 or 2, he said, "I have already heard more bugles and seen more elk."
Yeah,
and they were all do-it-yourself hunts that he was on. "I've heard more bugles and seen more elk first couple of days here than I have in the past 5 years of going on my own to Colorado." And
right.
And that says it all right there. Why you hire an outfitter, what you pay for, because it's a monumental task to roll in and say, I'm going to go out here and hunt mule deer, in the Bighorn Mountains for a week, or I'm doing this or that, and with limited time. And as Dylan said, you spend the first part of your hunt just trying to locate them or where to even go. And that's what you pay for. And we
If
have,
you ever do locate them.
if you ever do, that's very true. And that's why we are blessed as Pope and Young members to have this network of great outfitters, proven outfitters, and
Yeah.
that you can draw from and talk to at the conventions or look up who to hunt with, and a lot of them are members like Mike Parsons, and so
Yeah.
geez, oh Pete, if you're worried about if you're going to get your money's worth or if this is a quality hunt, or if they're taking my money and running, not going to be the case if you
No.
talk to some of these guys that we work with. They're the best that there is. They really truly are.
Well, something funny. Something funny. We put out an email. I don't know if you saw it. Put out an email saying, "Hey, we've got a couple spots available for our Outfitter Partner Program. This is a very exclusive. We don't just take anybody. Just like Jason's already alluded to. You have to be bow hunter friendly, and not only bow hunter friendly, but we like bow hunters. So, anyways, and I got an email from a guy back, and he said, he said, I've only hunted with one outfitter, and it was the worst experience of my entire life. He said, I don't encourage anybody to ever hunt with an outfitter. And I said, and the funniest part of this whole story was I had been on a hunt with that same outfitter in Maine. And I said, dude, listen, I understand that outfitter sucks. Like, I've been with that outfitter. Like, I left there, and I told him, I said, dude, that's the only outfitter I've ever not tipped because I was so – anyways, but I told him, I said, dude, listen, don't let that one outfitter ruin your entire idea of what an outfitter is. I said, because and I told him exactly what you just told me. If you come to the Pope and Young convention, you're meeting some of the world's best outfitters. And not only that, but that outfitter is going to be able to sit there and look and say, oh, there's Harv Ebers. He's hunted with me. Oh, there's Tom Nelson. Go talk to those guys. They know. And then you can literally go get people's testimonies right there about what it's like to hunt with that outfitter. And so we have, just meeting, sitting down and talking with them, they are phenomenal outfitters.
I concur 100% with that, Dylan.
Yeah, it's you brought up Mike Parsons, and it was first time I ever talked to him. We're like, hey, we're finalizing something. I think that was for the Omaha convention, and so I think you'd already set everything up, and we were just trying to get the contract signed. And so I called him up and I said, hey, should we email this over to you? No, you can just drop it in the mail. And no email, no anything. Yeah. And then you fast forward, 4.5 years, and all of a sudden we got Mike Parsons on a Zoom podcast. So I was like, wow. That's a technological marvel right there, I think.
That actually was going to be my next question to you. I was going to ask, so did he do it via the phone dial up, or did you somehow get him on a Zoom call? And
we got him on Zoom.
That is amazing. That's a heck of an accomplishment, you guys.
Yeah,
my hats off to you.
And I'll tell you what, he's a salesman, because you learn very early in the sales game because he's like, well, we're just hoping that we can, get you in there and show and you hear the stories of you and all of these other guys that have hunted with him, and it's a quality hunt. He's like, we just, want to show you. And so he is the absolute quintessential under promise, over deliver, because that's what he does. He is, from the first time you talk to him, he's setting sights right here, and everybody you talk to, they're way up there. And so it's, it was really neat to talk to him.
Yeah, he's a class act. He's, like I said, the price of admission and just hanging out with him for the week. He's a real card. I love that guy.
Yeah, that's who are some of your other favorites that you've had a chance to hunt with? Maybe multiple times.
Rob Nye from Saskatchewan, both his whitetail camp and his black bear hunts. I've was first introduced to Rob through, again, M.R. James from Bowhunter Magazine 20 some years ago. And we made a hunt together with Rob, and I've been back every year since. And he's donated hunts to the convention in the past, and Again, he's you look up the definition of outfitter and the dictionary, and Rob Nye's name's going to be listed there. Runs great camps, high success rate. Again, not under promises and over delivers, and just a great guy. And again, it's the personality. He keeps you in stitches all week, and just hard working son of a gun. He's a go getter, and you get what for sure what you pay for with him. If I personally have never taken anybody with me on one of his bear hunts that hasn't killed a bear, and he runs like 85% success rate on Pope and Young bears at his camp.
Wow!
If things go right, I believe I'm going to be in camp at Rob Nye's this spring with Harv Ebers and his son Kurt. Kurt, that'd be great if he shows up, but I definitely want Harv to come. But Rob has been trying to get Harv to come up there for years because he loves the guy. So it looks that there's a strong possibility we're all going to be in Saskatchewan together come May. So that should be good fun.
Very nice. Yeah. Yeah, Harv's one of the founding members of the Pope and Young Club.
Yeah.
So pretty exciting.
Good guys of the sport. He is.
Yeah.
Great ambassador for us.
Yeah. We had him on and we asked, if you could hunt with anybody, who would you want in camp? And he says, probably my son Kurt.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's for a guy who's been there and done that and hunted with a lot of folks, that was kind of a neat thing to hear.
He's hunted with most of the legends already, so that's a great answer, and it shows he's that's the sort of guy he is. But yeah, they don't get any better than him.
Yeah,
we're really blessed. Like I said, the members of the club, we have a great makeup of individuals, and the vast majority of them are just really quality guys and gals.
Yes.
That, I just can't say enough good things about. And like I mentioned earlier in the podcast, my circle of friends, the vast majority of them are Pope and Young members. The guys I hang out with, the guys and gals, people that Beth and I, my wife and I, go on hunts with now. We do some couples hunts. We've done a few different hunts where wives and the guys, we all get together and make hunts. And so that's part of why, people ask, why should I join the Pope and Young Club? Or, what is it? That's just a good old boys club and such. And you really don't understand until you get involved in it, that you'll never get to a place or meet a group of bow hunters that are more passionate, more willing to share their information and help you out. Just again, if attend a convention, if you're listening to this and you haven't been, hey, mark down Reno come this spring, because meet some people. I went, and my first convention, I didn't know anybody. I was a member, and my gosh, I'm gonna go, and I'm the sort of guy, I don't mind going up and introducing myself to people. And geez, when I left there, I go, I'm never gonna miss another one. It's just they're that much fun, and that's, like I said, that's where all my honey buddies have come from. So that.
And we actually are instituting. Heather's gonna bust my chops because I don't remember what day it is, but we're actually doing this year, I think it might be on Thursday, we're doing a new attendee kind of a get together where everybody who it's their first convention, we're going to get them in there, have a cocktail hour, and with some of the board members and dignitaries and stuff. And so just to let people know that haven't been there before, hey, welcome, and make sure that we do a good job welcoming everybody so that they have that same experience you have. Because not everybody is, and especially I think sometimes you get bow hunters that almost sometimes by nature are a little bit not
loners.
Run up. Yeah. They're not going to run up and jump into the middle of a group and start chatting. And so we're trying to do that just to make sure everybody feels, welcome and appreciated. And I've gotten some really good feedback after Reno last time. I try to make a point of meeting as many people as I can. We've got a busy schedule, as you know, but I try to meet as many folks as I can. And you talk to folks. We have Shelly. In fact, we had her on the program. She shot just a monster cougar, and so I talked to her after, and I said, "Hey, what was your experience? This is your first convention. What's your experience?" And she said the same thing. She says, "I can't believe how nice everyone was, and I can't wait to get back in 2 years." And that's exactly what you want to hear people say after they spend their hard-earned dollars to, travel to a convention, and
Yeah.
especially if they've never been there. That's what you want.
Yeah, I agree.
So, no, we're doing good. We're trying to put that extra effort in and make everybody feel welcome, and by the same token, the folks that have been there for 20 conventions, they're going to love it. This will be the biggest animal display that we've had at a convention, with the addition of the some of the velvet categories. In the past, we've had a lot of animal displays in that 100 range. There's a potential we could hit 200 animals in that room.
That'd be incredible.
It's we're doing shout out to Gabe Kruger. He may welded up some stands for us last year, and we're getting ready to order some more because we need them. We've got so many animals coming in. This will be the third convention in a row where we've had to build new stands for our displays. So that's a good problem to have.
It is a good problem to have. Yes.
Yeah, but we're excited about that. We've got the vendors. We've had some issues in the past. Omaha wasn't set up great, so we made a point of getting our vendors front and center. Our outfitters, our corporate partners, making it more inclusive so they're not stuck in a back corner. So we've got them right out in the middle. And you talk about, if you want to talk to the outfitters, we have not just some of the guides. A lot of shows that you show up, you have, they'll have guides that go and attend their booth. And at Pope and Young, we're getting the outfitters themselves. Yes. They're not sending some of their hired guys, which that's great too. But we're getting the actual outfitters to come talk to people. And like we talked about earlier, hey, you want to hear about our hunts? Gee, go talk to Tom Nelson. Go talk to Harv Evers. Both those guys have been at my camp multiple times, and it's a really good opportunity to get hunts, especially if you're a bow hunter. Not all outfitters are created equal, and you don't want to be on the side of a mountain hearing, "Oh, gee, well, if you'd have just shot the gun, we could have been back in camp right now." Nobody wants to hear that. You want to say, "Well, guess what? Maybe you need to work a little harder and give me a shot with my bow." And so we have the ones that have been vetted for that. So same thing, some of our corporate partners, we've got Hoyt's going to be there. Faradyne last time, always a big supporter. And they've got more brands than you could mention in a podcast. So they'll be there. Just a lot of really good folks. So we're excited about it. We continue to try to stretch what we can do to make it great for everybody. And as somebody who's been around events for 30 years, it never ceases to surprise me how good some of that goes. First time, I don't know if you were in charge of it. I know you were a part of it, but I don't know if you're in charge of the silent auction in Omaha. And It was my first Pope and Young convention. And I showed up and I'm like, what? We've got people bringing in stuff for the silent auction. They just show up with it. Yeah. I'm like, this is going to be like Grandma and Grandpa's third-rate garage sale. This is just going to not be cool. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, like, we've got stuff coming in, and here I'm like, you sold a what? You sold a what magazine for $530? I'm like, are you kidding me? I couldn't believe it, and it just so everything came together. The live auction, we continue to try to improve that where we can. So we're excited about it.
And rightly so.
Have you? Here's another story that's kind of exciting. Speaking of excited about convention, we're doing a raffle right now. Have you ever spent time in camp with Chuck Adams?
I haven't. Again, same thing. I've known Chuck for years and at shows and such, but I've never hunted with the guy. But yeah, I did see the info on that raffle, Hunt with Chuck. That's exciting.
Yeah, and Chuck is he's another one of those guys who's just very gracious, wonderful ambassador, for Pope and Young, for bow hunting and just for hunting in general. And so we started talking to Chuck about doing this Oklahoma whitetail hunt where you can literally win a chance to share camp. Not only do you get to win a whitetail hunt, a quality whitetail hunt, you get to share camp with one of the legends in Chuck Adams. And you talk about people being excited about it. When you're in the spotlight, sometimes stuff like this, has a tendency, you do it begrudgingly almost. You don't act like it, but it's like, okay, I'll do it, but I'm not super excited. Chuck was so excited about it. He came to us and he says, guys, can I draw that at convention? And so we were originally the initial game plan on that raffle was to draw it the day before Christmas Eve so that we could call somebody up for Christmas. And then at Chuck's request, he's like, can we run that? And can I draw it at convention? So we're selling it through the convention just because his request was that he got to announce it on stage.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. So that's, we've got that one, and we've got another one coming up that I think even guys like yourself will be impressed at our convention raffle this year. It's bigger. It's going to be bigger than anything that we've done up to date. And we got some great partners coming on, and you're going to have your choice. We've got four of our longtime outfitters that have come up with good stuff. And so you want to go to Africa, then you can go big over here with Machwer. You want to go shoot a sheep? Well, you can do that over here. You want to go shoot a moose? So I think we're going to have 4 just absolute stunner hunts, and the winner gets their choice.
Nice.
And I guarantee you there will be something on there that everybody wants to hunt. So
I look forward to that. That's exciting.
So we got some great stuff. But anyway, well, we got a lot of great stuff coming up. What do you have coming up? Well, you're excited about?
This year's still young, and as I mentioned earlier, going to Texas here in a couple weeks, and then Mississippi. I'm going to roll back. I struck out in Kansas my first go round earlier this year, not because of lack of whitetails. It was because I was just being maybe a little too choosy. So going to go back right after Christmas and finish up during the late season, do like 5-6 days there. And then Mississippi with, I always go hunting with my good friends and fellow Pope and Young members, the McCartney family, who are actually from Kansas, but their original homestead is in Mississippi, and they have a private lake with great fishing, which is just another added draw. But they're great people to hang out with, and so I'll be down there hunting late season whitetails in January with them. And then
you do not hear about Mississippi whitetail hunting. That is not the one that just like when you think of whitetails, Mississippi is not on a top 10 list that I'm aware of.
Mississippi's coming on strong. Just look at every time you get a Pope and Young, the copy of the Ethic, go through the whitetails and start checking out the whitetails coming out of Mississippi, because they are, especially in the Delta area, they are starting to really, and I shouldn't say starting, that always was good whitetail country, but they're really getting some great archery bucks these days from that part of Mississippi, from the whole state for that matter. So that's something that you need to pay attention to if you're a bow hunter, because their season's so long and runs to the end of January, starts in 1st of October, I believe, and such a liberal bag limit. So, put it on your to-do list.
Get frozen out in Mississippi.
What's that?
And you're not going to get frozen out in
No.
Mississippi.
No, and it, in January, especially in the northern part, you'll have some of those days that only gets into the 50s, but also maybe 70. But heck, I'm a Michigan guy, and in January, if it gets up to 25, 30 degrees, you think it's a heat wave. So I'll take 50 degrees all day. I'm ready to get out of here by January. But you asked about what's coming up to. I'll be at the Kansas Bow Hunters. I'm the guest speaker there, along with Tom Miranda, March 9th through 12th. I'll be at I'm the guest speaker at the New York Bow Hunters in May. Merritt Compton asked me if I would be their dinner speaker.
Great guy.
There.
Great guy.
Pope and Young in April, the 12th through the 15th, I believe.
Yes, sir.
Michigan Bow Hunters on April 1st and 2nd. And I'll be a seminar speaker at the Iowa Deer Classic, the 3rd through 5th of March. Those are the ones that pop up in my head.
I'm most impressed by the way he remembers dates, Jason.
I know. I have to look this
That's really important that you remember dates.
That just blew me away. I'm like, I think I have something April. What is April? And then I have to look. I'm like, oh yeah, convention. Like,
yeah. The only way I'm remembering dates is if I literally have my calendar up right here and going, oh yeah, that's on this day. I'd have to consult my calendar for the actual date.
No well, the older you get, but I really pay attention, so I don't double book myself, and I missed my first convention in 40 years. Here the last one because we had to change the date, due to the COVID and I was already booked for another event when we changed the date, and that was so hard, and I couldn't cancel out. But all my friends were calling me from the convention. Where are you? And I was like, that was so hard. It killed me.
We did not want to move the date, but it turned out that it was the right move.
It was,
and to everyone who we made it hard on last year, moving that date, at the last minute into July, because, and it wasn't just attendees. We had outfitters that had conflicts. We had a lot of our vendors were like, guys, we've never missed a convention since we started going. Same thing you're talking about, but they're like, we have commitments. Our booth is going to be at, I think there was a Total Archery Challenge or something that way. And so there were, we had a lot of conflicts. Even with that, it shocked me how people stepped up. Attendees, outfitters, corporate partners, vendors, everybody stepped up to do their very best to make it work. And I didn't talk to anyone who did not enjoy Reno. And
if they couldn't be there, they stepped up in ways that would help us, even though they couldn't be there.
Yeah. And this one, it is going to be bigger. It is going to be better. It is going to have the biggest animal display that Pope and Young has ever had.
Have we dropped the exciting news of the new 3D range we're going to have? Because that's going to be dope.
I don't think we have. Is it official?
The digital, yeah, it's official, man. We have a booth contract. We're going to have a digital, what do they call those? Like the hunt simulators where you get.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, like the techno hunts and such.
Techno hunts, exactly what it is called.
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
Which is going to be very fun.
Oh yeah, they're great. I mean, that's here in Michigan in the winter. That's a real popular thing to do. Some of the local archery shops here, they have actual leagues that you compete against other teams in it, and it's I've done it numerous times. It's great fun.
Well, now it's going to be a fun thing to do in April in Reno for sure.
Yes. Excellent.
Yeah, and we actually met a guy. What was that? The Portland show last year, Dylan?
Yep.
And there's a young. I want to call him a kid, but it's hard because sometimes I'll call people kids who are in their 30s. And anyways, young guy, and he's developed this program to where you can actually have one like in your living room, where it's not, because I mean, you can buy one of the full commercial setups, but they're not
20
inexpensive.
grand.
And he's putting together a package for our convention. I mean, Dylan and I saw it at the show and we're like, you have got to come. Like, I don't know any of our people who would not want to have this in their garage or their living room or something. And so he's put together.
I believe you
a
walk away
package.
with everything you need to do it in your own home for $1,200.
What?
Bam.
Yes.
Yeah.
Almost like a Wii, one of those Wii things, or
You
But
basically
you shoot your own bow.
you
Huh.
basically like hook up your computer, you download the software onto your computer, hook up your computer to a projector, and it projects it onto the screen. And then he gives you the sensors and everything to put around the screen, so it senses where your arrow hits and everything. Like, yeah,
It's crazy.
super,
Huh.
super cool. I said, dude, like, you are going to be right up our crowd's alley.
Oh yeah.
Yes. So yeah, no, so we've got a lot of things. Last time we had Baku came in, and Thomas with Universal Outdoor Products came in and had e-bikes, and we actually had a place where you could ride e-bikes around, much to the chagrin of the Nugget security folks. But we had a designated bike riding area that not all of our members and or staff
My
honored.
bad. Okay,
Yeah.
my bad.
I
They're
was
fun
going to
to
say
ride.
Krista. But anyway, so we've got that. We've got an indoor archery range where you can, if you want to see the latest and greatest from Expedition or Hoyt or some of the other ones, we've got an indoor range where you can try that out. So we're trying to make it just a little bit bigger and better. So
Nice.
but
Fun.
well, Tom, you know this. The one question, and we're going to give you another shot to answer it here. When you're out on your hunt, what is the one non-traditional item that you like to have with you on your hunts? Besides a good cameraman who doesn't drive you nuts.
Non-traditional, so non-archery related. Probably my Kindle.
Okay.
Okay, that's new.
One of the most, so for downtime, being caught in camp.
That way you don't have to rip pages out of your book.
Yep, something.
Yeah.
Yep, probably that to fall back on would be one of the things. But I'm a minimalist when I pack and go on trips. I try not to take anything extra that I don't have to. Just enough pairs of underwear to get by and things. But that, honestly, guys, probably that's the only thing that's not bow hunting related that I throw in my pack. It truly is. I'm running through stuff in my head right now, but I would say that just the Kindle, and there's been times when I've been stuck at airports and such when I'm very thankful to have it.
Yeah.
But you can only
So now-
stare at your phone so often.
Now, the time that you did have the book, you said it was a Western book. Was it Louis L'Amour?
Everybody asked me that, Jason, and I just donated a big grocery bag filled with Louis L'Amour, a bunch of Western novels to the assisted living old folks home here in town just yesterday, and of paperback Western novels and things. But I have a few buddies that are bow hunters that we trade Western novels back and forth and things. And I had these for years, and I had accumulated a whole grocery bag full that I took in. But I can't honestly say yes, it was or it wasn't, but I would say at least a 50-50 chance that it was a Louis L'Amour novel. I would just about bet because I've read them all, but it was the only reason it might not be, it was relatively thick, and a lot of Louis L'Amours aren't a ton of pages, but I would sit there and I'd read that page and rip it out carefully and hand it over, and true story.
Awesome.
And the other guys were all very thankful that I had that.
Yeah, that's a great story. I love that story. So, well, Tom, just want to thank you for jumping on here today. I know you've been doing some video work for us for some of our membership programs, and those are going to be out. We're going to be popping those here on social media and the website here very soon. And just want to thank you for everything you do. Once again, for Pope and Young and for my team, the staff. You're always on board to do everything asked, and I know the board of directors appreciates you, and just for being just a wonderful ambassador for hunting and bow hunting and for the club. So thank you very much, sincerely.
Well, thank you for
everything
kind
you do.
words. I appreciate it. Always
We
a
appreciate it.
pleasure. Always a pleasure being on with you guys.
Yeah. Well, we'll do it again, and I can't wait to see you in Reno. You missed the last one, and but don't worry, we saved you some duties.
All right. I appreciate that.
Hey, thanks so much. Have a
Thank
great
you.
day, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Bye-bye.